How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today, Bob, we're going to be talking with Brittany Charbonneau. She is a elite ultra runner for the North Face. She also has a award that is called the Dopey Challenge Champ. You'll hear about that. It's basically running over or near 48 miles in just a couple of days, winning a bunch of races in the Run Disney circuit back in 2022. She loves comedy. She loves running. She loves family and just so many other things. This is a really uplifting conversation for me, and I really enjoyed it. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Brittany. So this is going to air, what is today? Today's Thursday. Let me check the schedule. So this one will come out on the, let's see, 24th. So next Thursday. So a week from today.
Perfect. Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So how you doing this morning?
I'm good. Thanks. I'm launching a Disney training schedule
Yeah.
on Monday. And so I've just been busy building everybody's training plans. And I was literally just listening to Disney Villains playlist. It's like living my best morning.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm just curious because I was reading a little bit on your background and whatnot, and the Disney thing and the running. What is the story currently with how you are involved with that? And I guess you are the Dopey Challenge champ. What does that mean?
I know. If you're in the Disney scene, you know exactly what that means. Otherwise, people are like, what the hell is that? I have no idea. So in 2022, I won the Dopey Challenge, which is it's 4 days in a row. It's a 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon. It's 4 days consecutively, so like 48 miles over the course of those 4 days. And I was the first and only person to ever win all of them.
Wow.
So I kind of have my Disney claim to fame because of that. And then it's been cool because it's opened up just doors for, and just like connecting with the Disney community, which is like, there are Disney people. I love them. But so like they live for a theme just like me. So this year I'm rolling out kind of like a group training that everyone's either training for Dopey or something that weekend. And the idea is that they have like a kind of like a support group that's each week they all have the same theme, and they'll get inspirational videos and like content from me directly, and they'll get me as their regular coach, but then they have the kind of this bonus level of Disney support.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so interesting. I've had some family members do some of the different races and whatnot, but I didn't realize it was such an involved thing. But 48 miles in just a few days, like that's.
Yeah, and they start at 4 a.m.
Oh my goodness! Just because it's so hot.
And to beat they have to get through the parks before. Well, you're still going through the parks when they open, but they have to open the parks.
Yeah.
So it's wild. They're so fun though. Like everybody's in costume. There's characters out along the courses every day and everything like that. So it's really fun.
That's awesome. What is the most unexpected opportunity that you have gotten just from your interconnectedness now within the Disney ecosystem?
I think just like getting to connect with the Disney runners. So I would say a big majority of the Disney community is run walkers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been cool to apply my training and my training philosophy to run walk or any levels of runners. So it's kind of fun because it's just like, and it's like really helped elevate my coaching because like I said, the Disney people live for a theme. And so like I'm getting to like theme out and really think through different training, and I'm practicing it during my training and then kind of relaying that in their training. So it's kind of just been a random cool thing just to connect more with the community itself.
Yeah. Are you native to Florida? Like you're from, no, where are you at?
No, born and raised from Denver.
Okay, that's right. So you are in still Colorado as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
So most of these things happen though in Florida, I would imagine.
Yeah. So the big marathon weekend is in Orlando, and then they've got races in spring and fall, and then they have now the Disneyland races that are back, and those are out in California. They don't have the Dopey challenge in California. That's specifically for Orlando, but it's cool. Like it's this whole rabbit hole. If you are like it's either you know about it and you are fully down this rabbit hole, or it's like I had no idea, and it's massive.
Yeah.
It's wild, but I don't know. I love it. And I'm like I'd say I'm a Disney person,
Sure.
but not like some of these Disney people are full throttle, which I just like love. So it's kind of like there's no limits on how much you can push the themes and the costumes. I have
Yeah.
one runner that she literally has an entire room in her house that's just running Disney running outfits. And she runs in Disney stuff every single day.
Yeah. It reminds me of like, yeah, the cosplay Comic Con, like that level of dedication when people get into that
Yes.
stuff. It's like almost a religion.
Oh, 100%. That's a good way to
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So this is gonna hopefully doesn't come across as offensive, but just with my own assumptions and knowing little about Disney in terms of the running atmosphere, but also knowing a good bit about North Face and just the extreme outdoor, like these two brands that you represent now, I don't know if I'd ever see a partnership between them. So yeah, what is your take on like how you intertwine? Because you're talking about training plans and things like that, the run walk scene versus like the extreme survive a mountaintop type of a person.
Yeah.
So like how do you marry those two?
That's a great question. This is the bane of my North Face handler's existence
Yeah.
because I keep telling her that my dream is one day we will have a North Face sponsored Run Disney event. And she's like, that will never happen. And I'm like, that's my dream. I'm going to make it happen. And I'm like, how rad would it be if we could like have a North Face sponsored race up Space Mountain?
Yeah, I was
Or
gonna say
like, what if
imagine.
there was like a cruise that it could be a Run Disney trail event? So I
Mm,
think like that would be where my like I would love to get these Disney people on the trails. I think that they're often scared or intimidated of trails, and so that's like my future dream. There's nothing that would warm my heart more than seeing a whole bunch of people on the trails in Disney costumes because that's the thing at these Disney races too is like you wear costumes. And big thing too when I won Dopey was that I was in costume for every single day and won them all. So that was kind of like you can be intense and you can be elite and you can win races, but you can also play with it and you can have fun and you can be in costumes.
yeah.
So I think it's kind of a stretch, these two brands, but somehow I kind of make it work. It's mostly like how I incorporate costumes, how I incorporate play.
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm doing on the trails now, like kind of just channeling all of that and bringing all of that into my training and racing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to like think. So like what kind of a movie or cuz theme is such a huge thing. What kind of a thing could you tie in? I was thinking like oh, The Incredibles, although that's Pixar. There
That
is
still counts.
Yeah, so like Dash, he's a runner, or maybe
Yeah.
they could come up with some new movie that tells a story around adventure racing or something like that. Like that seems like the where you could make the crossover, but I guess you're gonna have
Yes.
to find a pretty big budget to make something like that.
Which, I mean, those two brands, we're not hurting. They're not hurting for a big budget. So
Yeah,
I
for
just have to
sure.
make the right pitch, I think.
Sweet. Well, fun conversation to start out with. I guess the first thing I really should say, though, is Brittany, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. It was fun to get to connect with you. I think it's been probably a year or more ago, I guess, when Seth Ruling's his first episode came out. So, yeah, thank you for making it happen.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's fun. I'm stoked to get to chat and connect.
Yeah. So, first question I would love to officially open up with is how do I say your last name?
Good question. Charboneau.
Charboneau. Okay, so it's French.
French Canadian, apparently, is my
French.
husband's last name. My
Okay.
maiden name was Lee.
Okay.
So I went from Lee to Charbonneau. And that last name has been through the ringer when it
Yeah.
comes to races.
Charbonnet,
I've
Charbonnet.
gotten Charbonneau, Charbonnet,
Okay.
anything like that. So Charbonneau.
That's awesome. How long you been married?
We've been married. This September will be 8 years.
Oh, congratulations. I just passed
Thank
8
you.
years as well in June.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. What kind of lessons have you learned from marriage so far?
Dear God, it's work, but good work. It's
Mm,
like training that
yeah.
you can't let off the gas for too long. And the communication and just reflection, all of that is the biggest thing that we've learned together, especially now that we've had Hugo, our baby, and
Yeah.
really making sure that the communication is key.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I always pictured, I don't know about you, but I pictured being married and it almost turns into this inadvertent, you're kind of throwing your spouse under the bus or you're talking about the woes of like the ball and chain and all of that, but we just haven't felt like that. I'm like,
Mm,
we don't anytime we get into that habit of we do get into throwing each other under the bus or things like that, that it's like we have to nip that in the bud because there's usually some annoyance there that we're actually
Yeah, there's a little
talking
truth to
about.
it.
Yeah. And so I think recognizing that and then stopping that in its tracks, because I
Mm,
think that that can add up. Um, so just remembering to just be kind to each other, I think, is something we've tried to practice and learn throughout the years too, and address those little grievances, just like you would an injury. I think, like,
mm,
what is this niggle? Where's it coming from?
mm.
And let's like get a hold of it before it turns into a stress fracture.
Yeah, and that's a really good analogy. Yeah, I would agree. It's been interesting. My wife and I have come through the cycle of life a few times through that, the ups and downs. And I think, like any training plan or whatever, with your blocks, you have a build and taper, or however you want to look at it. But it's interesting with like the subtleties of the expression. So for me, it was always when we were the group of friends, particularly close friends. Like sometimes I guess I would pick at her a little bit or bring
Mhm.
that stuff out, and I didn't
Yes,
even notice it, Brittany, completely. Like it
totally.
was, and
Yep.
it had to not only come from her, but some of my friends are like, hey, like, you do this a lot, and people may not see it as like a weird thing or whatever, because I think unfortunately that kind of behavior is pretty culturally normal in the
I
United States.
agree.
But
Totally.
it's like releasing a little pressure in a public setting, but you're not actually having to like face the problem.
Couldn't agree more. Yes, that's exactly what we found ourselves doing too, is that little public nitpicking. And then we would see it in other people, and it almost makes it awkward for other people because they're like, well,
What does
this
that
feels
mean?
weird. Like you're
Yeah.
calling them out. And so we stopped. That was probably one of the biggest things we stopped doing that has
Yeah.
helped a ton.
Was it easy to just stop that?
No,
What did you have
especially
to
me.
do? Yeah.
I think just talk about it and recognize it and be really conscious of it. Especially for me with Justin. Like I have to make sure I'm not doing that, or just I think just practicing it. Like that has and it took time. And I feel like we're pretty good with that now. If we do that, it feels like weird, and it feels like that feels like an old thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't like that. So it
Yeah.
takes time. But
Yeah.
marriages work and it's hard, but gosh, I like we love it. I mean, we're having a blast with each other. And
Yeah.
luckily I met someone who also loves costumes as much as me. So I found my good match.
Yeah, that's really neat. Just because it just popped into my head. Tell me about the tattoo on your arm. I think I see some mountains or something.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I have this one, which
Okay.
is for the listener. It's my Disney tattoos. So it's my four costumes that I had during Dopey. So I had Elsa from Frozen
Frozen.
2, Bing Bong from Inside Out, Joy from Inside Out, and then Cruella from the new
Cruella, nice.
Cruella.
Okay.
And then this one is an armband, like circa 1990s vibe, with a shark with a crown in the middle or
Okay.
underneath.
Is that a polka dot shark?
It is a like glitter shark with the crown,
Okay.
because I call myself mountain shark on the trails. So I got this tattoo when I first started really getting into trails. So my background's in road racing. So when I started getting into trails, I always struggle with imposter syndrome. So I got into trails and I was like, are people just going to think of me as a road runner? And it seems like trail runners have mountain tattoos. So I'm like, get this mountain tattoo. So that's kind of the origin of that. And then, of course, I put the pink shark with it because I'm a mountain shark.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, maybe I'll regret it one day having kind of this armband tattoo because I see a bunch of old dads now with like their barbed wire. And I'm like, am I in that category? But
Yeah.
I'm going to own it at least while I'm
Yeah.
still in the running scene.
Yeah, for sure. So, professional runner, obviously, you have a history with running. Your mom, you have the Disney side of things. You're married, so you're also a wife. Just in 15 so minutes, I can kind of get a picture of who I would say you are. But according to you, who is Brittany?
Good question. I think that's if I had to sum it up based on all those things, because I'm like, oh yeah, and he didn't mention this and this and this, and I do a lot.
Hmm.
I sometimes think of myself as a hummingbird squirrel where I'm constantly kind of flitting around to different things and interests and bopping from one thing to the other. I get distracted. So I'm kind of like constantly, looking around doing different things. But that's kind of what I've embraced about myself and that I really love about myself. I think I tried to be super focused on one thing for many years, but it wasn't bringing me joy. When I get too focused on just one thing, that's when I tend to spiral or crash and
Burnout.
burn, or I get way too intense on something. So I like having this like variety of, you know, different, for lack of a better costume term, different hats that I get to wear, different costumes that I get to be.
Hmm.
mom, wife, runner, coach, just all of those different pieces really make me artist, all of these different things that I get to be and own it. Because that's just how I function and what makes me happy. And I feel like why I'm good at all these different things because I let myself be this hummingbird squirrel, if you will.
Yeah. At what point in your life did you start to realize this about yourself and then I guess fully accept it? Because it sounds like there's a little bit of tension there in the beginning. You felt like maybe from I don't know, past mentors or family or whatever that you needed to quote unquote focus on one thing. When did that shift in cementing of just the way that you live life become something that you were comfortable with?
It came from myself, I feel like. I don't feel like it necessarily came from any necessarily outside influences. So I had a big kid job all through my 20s. I was in sales and marketing all through my 20s, and I won a local race here. I won Denver's marathon in 2017, and the night before that I was in the finale of a local improv show that was like a 3-month long show called Denver's Next Improv Star.
Hmm.
And I didn't win that. Woke up the next morning, won the marathon, and I was like, well, these two like mediocre things, I'm gonna go pro in both of these. Like, had this blind confidence. On paper, I should not have pursued them really. Uh, was getting married, and Justin and I talked, and he was like, quit your job, go pursue this. Like, we'll figure this out. So when I was 29, right before we got married, I quit my corporate job and went to pursue running and comedy, having literally no income, having no idea what I was doing. On paper, I shouldn't have done that. So I had put these like strict goals in place, which sure was helpful in a sense of giving me a timeline and direction. I told myself when I quit my job, I was like, okay, I have 6 months to be both on SNL and an Olympian.
Wow.
It was not
Okay.
even an Olympic year. And so I was like, okay, if 6 months I'm not those things, I can go back to my corporate job. So that was kind of just like this piece. And then I was just taking personally what I felt like I was seeing from social media in terms of running. I remember seeing the road runners and thinking, just based on the content they were posting and just my own perception, that I needed to be just super serious. I needed to be full throttle in running and racing and training. And I needed to be super strict on my diet. I needed to be really skinny to be fast. That was kind of like I really went so full throttle and so serious into racing because I thought that that's what was going to make me successful because that's what I thought I saw. And I did it for a while and it was miserable, to be honest. Like, it wasn't fun. I was
Mm.
just not enjoying it. And I remember one of my biggest goals after I quit my job was to qualify for the Olympic trials, which I did. um, Basically the next race that I ran, I qualified for the Olympic trials. So I was training for that. And I remember thinking, if I get one opportunity to ever run the Olympic trials, I want it to be so fun. And looking back, like on my career, I have no idea how long my professional running career is going to be. I want to look back and think I had the best time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to look back thinking like it was a grind. I hated it. And it's a grind. Like, there's the days that, just like anybody else, it is a grind. It is the days that you don't want to get out and do it, but you have to. But I was just like, I want the cumulative whole to be full of like fun, experience, playfulness, color, all of those things. And so I finally kind of just slowly started to let myself explore different things. I had themes for each week in the beginning, that I was channeling different characters. Right here is my very first week was Julia Child. So I channeled Julia Child that week and I listened to podcasts about her, just kind of took inspiration from her. She was a, pioneer in her field. And she loved cooking. So she just kind of followed that. So I did that. And then I was making art based on my different themes, which I call it weird art. And it's just like this digital collage, Frankenstein art. But once I started to do that, it was all for myself and not for other people. And I realized I could do art and I could do these other things that didn't make me so serious,
Mm.
and that like not my whole life wasn't resting on race results. So I think it's been over time. I think I still struggle with kind of owning myself sometimes and letting myself be kind of the weird one or be my sparkly rainbow full throttle costume self. But it's been just kind of my 30s, I feel like I've like really started to like who I am. I've liked
Mm,
what my vibe has been. It feels authentic to me. But it's taken time. It's taken years to get to that point. It's taken going through the super serious phase and realizing it doesn't work for me. Because some people might listen to this and be like, I want no part of any of the things you just mentioned. I actually like being serious and regimented. Great. Like as long as that's for you. But I just felt like I gotta like keep stepping into my authentic self and also just kind of letting myself discover who that is and what is bringing me joy.
yeah. Well, I think that inner joy a lot of times comes from our inner child, and if we lose the ability to connect with that, which I think there's some stuff that I really don't agree with and some stuff that I really do agree with Disney. And I think the biggest thing I do agree with is like the ability to get in contact with your inner child and don't let that side of us die because yeah, I feel like some of the most intense arguments or conversations I've ever had with people, I I typically have not seen them in that light. And one pivotal point in time when I was actually having like a huge fight with my mom is when I don't know exactly why it happened, but I yelled at her so loud and got so intense with her. And for whatever reason, I kind of saw her in that moment as like her as a 9-year-old or 8-year-old and like
Mm.
how scared and just terrible she must have felt and just like unsure because we were going through a very tumultuous time and she didn't know what she was doing. And that's usually when that inner child comes out. But I realized if every one of us had the ability to kind of look at the other person on the side of the table and see them as who that inner child is, but also to realize that to see ourselves as that way whenever we're scared or intimidated, like would make such a huge difference in how we approach my internet's working now. Oh well. What's the last thing you heard? We'll just go from there.
You were talking about your mom and just kind of being her 9-year-old self.
Yeah. Yeah, so as I was talking to her, I realized like, wow, if I can start to view people in that respect, it would just change the way that I have empathy and I can just kind of get to the core of what really matters is like, can I love that individual on the other side of the table, even though I disagree with them? But then also realizing, and this came much later, but how to get in contact with or just be in touch with enough to speak to the emotions that I'm feeling, which typically come from the scared, the fear, anger. It's like that inner kid just not knowing what to do. So yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
Have you seen the movie Inside Out?
yes, yeah,
So that
both
was
of them.
such an important movie for me because I felt like it finally described what I felt like was going on in my brain with all these different emotions and how I kind of felt like some are taking over at times. So I can totally resonate with that. And there's also a point in life where you realize your parents are people
Mm,
and that you're like, oh yeah, like they have fears, they have all these things, they did the best they could,
yeah,
or they're also flawed. So I think that that's helped, and having kids now I think has also kind of helped with that. I think that there's the piece where I'm like, I'm doing my very best. He's 5 months old. I'm doing my very best so far. I know I'm going to mess this up at some point. My mom and dad did, and I'm going to have a little bit more grace with who they are as people now.
mm,
So that's kind of, I can totally resonate with that.
yeah, yeah. It's something I'm fascinated with, and I have not been able to figure out is why that kids seem to be born with this programming that we think automatically, even though we fight our parents tooth and nail for many years. It's even though we don't agree with them, they're kind of seen as like, well, they know everything or they have it all figured out. And then we reach that age of quote unquote enlightenment or whatever it is, and we're just like,
Yeah, the Renaissance.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Then they know nothing, and then we come back
Mm,
again in our 20s, 30s, whatever it is. Everyone's a little bit different, and we're like, okay, well, it's a little bit grayer than I thought. It's the world's not so black and white.
really. Yeah, there's got to be some evolutionary piece
Yeah,
in there of like, okay, you're my protector. I trust everything you say. I need to start now going and hunting for myself. Like
yeah,
you said this about the hunting experience. It's not true. I don't trust you anymore. And then kind of getting more bigger perspective. There's got to be something in there, I think.
yeah. Who are you more like? You think your mom or your dad?
Probably hmm, probably my mom, I would say. In the sense of, I don't know. I kind of also feel like this like unique specimen in my family. They're both social. They're both, here's the thing, they both, no matter what, I ever came to them and said I wanted to do, it was always like, great, how are you going to make that happen? Or do it. It was never, I don't feel like I was also never pushed into something. I started running when I was in 8th grade and ran through high school and stuff, but there was never a, where do you want to run in college? Where do you want to take this running? It was never that. It was always just like, you're enjoying it. That's great. We support that. And there's no expectations, no stipulations on that. And I really do think that that's where a lot of my longevity in my career has come from, is that
Mm.
I was allowed to have the joy in it. And so I think that's both of their, and they've been divorced since I was 6 or something, but I think they both share that aspect of just complete and total love and support, and also being on board of like, you're gonna go to New York and audition to be a Disney princess on a cruise line, okay, that kind of thing. Or like, you're gonna go run up mountains now and you're gonna tell jokes, like, what's happening? But okay, we support you. So I think that that's kind of, I don't know what quality that would be, but I think that that's something that I have picked up from both of them, even though they're
Yeah.
quite different as people.
Yeah. Before I go on kind of down this trail, you said audition to be a Disney princess. Did you make that audition?
I went, I got back, I graduated college. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. One night I was like, just dreaming, and I was like, man, I would love to be a Disney princess. Went online, turns out you have to be 5'1" or shorter, which I'm 5'1".
Goodness.
Yeah, you have to be really short to be a Disney princess. So I was like, perfect. They were having auditions in New York to be a princess on a cruise line. So I went there. I made it through all the rounds except the final round. I didn't end up making it. And you don't get to pick which princess you want to be. They cast you. So I made it through like the sing or the dancing, the like all of this somehow. Never did make it, but I went for it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm kind of getting to do my own thing with that now.
Yeah, that's super interesting. They made you sing?
No, luckily not then. Right now, I would have loved that because I have a vocal coach. So,
Cool.
okay, here's my another hummingbird squirrel moment. So, my dream when I retire from running is to be on Broadway. So, I decided that if I'm going to be on Broadway, I need to start working on my dreams now. So,
Mm.
I've been working with my vocal coach for a couple years now, and we do just Disney and Broadway singing. So that way, in like 30 years, when I'm an old lady, I get to be an old lady on Broadway, and I've got my chops
Yeah.
into the stage.
Yeah. That's amazing. How's it going? Do you feel like it's progressing? How do you feel about your voice? Like, have you gained confidence in it?
Yeah, big time. It's fun. It's also this goal that I picked. Well, this thing that I picked a few years ago of, I just want something, I want a hobby that I can do that has zero goals attached to it. It's literally just joy, fun, art, a challenge, but I don't have to like, there's no auditioning. I just do this because I love it. So right now it's just fun. And we pick different songs that are more challenging, or my vocal coach would give me songs that I'm like, there's no way I can sing that. Then, weeks, you practice for a
Practice.
few weeks and you gain confidence. You're like, actually, I can hit those notes.
Yeah.
So it's fun. Like, it's just a fun thing, again, that doesn't have anything attached to it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always been amazed about singing because with the work, like it's amazing how much you can expand your range. And I mean, just the practice alone of like learning how to breathe correctly and, where to sing out of your head and all of that stuff. It's pretty amazing to have that experience because so many people are like, oh, I don't sing, or oh, I can't sing. It's like, no, come
Mhm.
on.
You
Somebody may
can.
have gifted, but most people I would say can actually sing if you work on it.
And the breath work and how you breathe with singing is so similar to running. So when I
Make you a
very
better
first
runner.
started, totally, I knew how to do the breath work because that was such a big part of what I'm doing during running. And then there are some inspirational bangers of Broadway songs for running specifically, that just, when you belt that shit out and then you go run a trail, you're like, I am amazing. And you're
Yeah.
like singing this on top of a mountain. So it's really fun, and like a strange crossover.
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that because when I was in college, I is when I kind of first started running a little bit, and at the same time, during my off classes, I would go play piano and try to sing and stuff. But I was like, man, you could actually probably create a training plan to be better at running that involved singing while running.
I've done it. Oh, I love this. Okay, I should make a whole plan of that. But I have done that a couple times. I rapped Eminem. One week my theme was Eminem all-time favorite rapper.
Like
So I
keeping the beat.
rapped during that. And then when I set the FKT on the 4-pass loop in Aspen, the way that I was checking in with my breath
Yeah.
later in the run was I was singing, rapping Satisfied from Hamilton. And that was my way of like calming my breath back down, making sure I was going at an effort that was sustainable enough to be singing Hamilton.
Yeah.
So I do think it goes hand in hand. I love that.
Yeah, it's interesting too because depending on what your cadence is, but a lot of popular music, especially in the hip hop genre or in rap, that it can hit around 80 to 90, which you double that, and then you get like that golden zone of 175, 185, whatever for your cadence. So yeah, it definitely fits. That's super interesting. I feel like there needs to be like some research done on this in depth.
There's
There
got to
probably
be
is.
something. Yeah, I'll have to dig into it.
So going back to your parents a little bit, what kind of work did they do that kind of influenced the upbringing that you had in terms of, not pushing you out there? Because there's a lot of people who are professional athletes now. There was a lot of, all right, you're 7, we're going to throw you in the pool or younger and getting up at 4 a.m. And it works for some people, but there's a lot of
Sure.
burnout that typically happens. So what was their background in?
None of that. My dad was a contractor, did home remodels, construction. He still does that. He's 78, still does that. My mom has been a school administrator for as long as I can remember. And I think the biggest thing that they both, it was always hard work. It was maybe nothing ever glamorous, but we work hard. That is like our foundational piece. But we work hard and we rest. I
Mm,
think that's the thing too, is like there's nobody's extreme. I would say I'm probably the most extreme in my family, but no one's extreme. My dad has a background in he played baseball growing up and was
hmm
my softball coach throughout the summers, just rec softball. So I knew about sports. I knew we were never allowed to quit. So we always had to pick something, finish the season. We didn't ever have to do it again if we didn't like it, but we always had to complete it. My mom used to do like 5Ks at this dirt track by her house, and I used to go ride my big wheel. So I saw her being active. Again, nothing extreme. And I think that helped because it wasn't like I was always out playing in the yard, playing in the street, like all the classic things of I feel like a full American upbringing
Yeah.
was just like go play, be active. I mean, we didn't have video games and things like that growing up. So I didn't have any of that. This is obviously way before technology and things. I lived on Disney movies and
Same.
TV like Full House and TGIF. So there was definitely like that. And like I remember Fridays we would go to Blockbuster, get a few movies and a pizza, and that would be the weekend. So it was like I think a healthy mix of all the things.
hmm
I found that I wanted to push myself more. I've always been goal driven, pretty self motivated. And so I feel like that came later for me on my own accord. And I didn't feel like I had that pressure coming from my parents. And I coached middle school. Also, I have a middle school team that I coach. And it's really, really important to me with them that we're not making Olympians in middle school.
Mm,
And I'd even argue high school. I think that some of these kids, it's just, my biggest piece is like, we cannot lose this joy of running. I love it so much competing at a high level, but I don't think that you have to sacrifice the joy for it. And I also am like, let these kids just be.
be
They don't
kids.
have to have a scholarship attached to it. They might not want to pursue this. I just want to have an association of positivity with movement, whatever that looks like. But I really do think that that came from my parents as well.
Yeah. With the coaching you do at the younger ages, who's more difficult to coach, the parents or the kids?
Ooh, I've lucked out. Luckily, my school is super hands off. It's an international school. So luckily they're really, for the most part, hands off. I hear horror stories from other friends that are middle school coaches and some parents that can be kind of bonkers.
Getting in
I've
your ear,
lucked
yeah.
out. So a lot of times it's like, you guys, like, it's usually the kids and I'm like, can you please stop army crawling when we're trying to do like warm ups? Like, oh my God. Or like, please stop throwing the baton. Or like, usually it's the middle schoolers. And the hard part too is sometimes just convincing them that they can do it. So that's
hmm
actually the harder part sometimes is the middle school kids themselves versus the parents, luckily.
Yeah. With that age group, what is the like compare and contrast the boys and the girls? Like what motivates them? Who at that age is having more self-belief and things like that?
They are both so motivated by beating each other because there's not the big gap yet. So, since they're all still in that
Yeah,
sixth
they're
to eighth
pretty
grade development range, they're actually pretty even. I usually always have a couple girls that will smoke the boys,
good.
and the boys that are right on the edge with them do not want to get beat by the girls. So they're pretty even when it comes to that. I will say by the time my girls get from sixth to eighth grade, you can just unfortunately watch their confidence plummet, which just breaks my heart because I'm like, what is it that is this
All the
thing that
other
happens during
changes.
puberty that their confidence just goes down and they become hyper aware of what everybody else is doing and all of those pieces. And the boys, it's almost the opposite because then they're growing into their bodies. They're getting more comfortable with their more muscular
Physique, yeah.
athleticism physique, and they're then like seeing their confidence just skyrocket. So my job with especially the girls is, and a lot of times I'm getting the girls that are maybe not the trendy ones, maybe not they're the kind of odd ducks, which is kind of what I was in middle school, and getting to just remind them that, hey, you matter. Like, I see you. I think
Mhm.
this weirdness that you have is the coolest thing ever. And just like hopefully something of that sticks with them as they continue through high school. But it's fun. I mean, the middle school, every time I say that I coach middle school, I kind of get the look of like, oh my God, that feels intense, but they are still playful. They're not
Mhm.
overly intense. You can wrangle them more than the elementary kids. They'll mostly listen to you. So it's fun. And that was where my running started, was I had just great supportive coaches my eighth grade year. So that's why I'm really passionate about getting to coach middle school. And that's like my highlights of my year is my middle school season of track and cross country.
Yeah, that's so neat. Whenever you were going through, like you were saying, the little odd duck points of life, what were the relationships that mattered the most to you that you found security, comfort,
Mm,
confidence in?
that's a good question. For sure, my coaches, I just felt I had female coaches my eighth grade year, and they just encouraged me. They suggested that I do cross country in high school. I had no idea what cross country was. So I felt like I found my place where I fit in running. I felt like, okay, people get it that you want to just work hard for yourself. I don't necessarily have to. I wasn't like very coordinated. So I didn't feel like I had to like worry about how to dribble a ball or how to throw a ball better. I could just run.
Hmm.
So I felt really safe and fun with my people in the running scene all through eighth grade year and then high school. Um, and then just probably my siblings, they're 10 and 12 years older. So I looked
Wow.
up to them a lot. And I just remember always feeling like they've got my back and like kind of just trotting along beside them or behind them made me feel good and just kind of built my confidence that way. And I've got a really awesome extended family on my mom's side that were always just really supportive. So I feel like I had like just a good community of family and coaches throughout all of that time of life.
Yeah. Did you find as you were growing up that the relationship, especially with like mom and dad, you tended to different periods of life lean on one side more than the other?
Yeah, I mean, so I moved to Missouri when I was in fourth grade with my mom and my stepdad, and I lived out there. And my mom or my dad stayed in Colorado, so I would come back in the summers, live with my dad. School year, I'd be with my mom and my stepdad. And then after my freshman year, I decided I wanted to move in with my dad. So I moved from Kansas City to Denver and finished high school out here. So I certainly had to lean more on my dad when I
Mm.
moved out here in high school, which was interesting because I think that's kind of an important time of life to need your mom. And I feel like because just of the distance and all the different factors, I didn't quite have that, but I had my older sister. So I feel like I kind of leaned a lot on
Okay.
her. My brother was sort of a father figure to me too. So I kind of had all these different dynamics
Hmm.
in my life of support. And even though we had distance between us, my mom and I still stayed close. So I still had all of that. So it was kind of like, I feel like everybody kind of came in and out as needed throughout all the different times.
You made it work.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So you have a child, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Hugo.
How old is Hugo?
He's 5.5 months.
Okay, so he's very young. Yeah, so
Yes.
you're going through it. How's the sleep schedule?
Oh my God, he was a champion early on.
That's awesome.
And we were like, man, we have the best sleeper. And
Perfect
then,
baby.
oh my gosh, and he's perfect in every other way. But lately it's been just, he's just wanting to fall asleep on us and stay asleep on us, which is the hardest thing in the world. Cause I'm like, buddy, I would snuggle with you all night long, but we can't be snuggling all night long. Like, you need to go in your crib.
Yeah.
So we'll put him down and then he'll wake up, and we rinse and repeat that about 45,000 times a night right now until it gets better. Oh, we'll see. Do you have kids?
I don't, but I'll just say it and people will be shocked. But we just found out my wife's pregnant. She's going on 10 weeks.
Oh
So
my gosh,
yeah.
congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Seth, it's the best thing in the whole world.
I'm very excited. When it happened, and because I was like, honey, I think you're pregnant. Because she was saying like, oh, been having cramps for like 3 days in a row, and I think I'm gonna start my period. I was like, no, I think you're pregnant. Actually, you should go
Oh,
take this. Anyway, she threw it out in front of me, and it was positive, and I just started laughing hysterically. I was so excited. Yeah, yeah.
congratulations. Are you guys going to find out if you're having a boy or a girl?
We are. Yeah. So it's August 5th, I think or actually we're gonna have to change it because we're going out of town. But right around there is when we'll go get the first ultrasound. I think. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's a ride, but it is the coolest thing ever. Like, it tops everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best thing in the whole world.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, like, what's the most important thing you've ever done in your life? Would you say that is right up there?
Yeah, hands down,
Yeah.
hands down. It would have been probably races or things in the past. I've had amazing experiences, travel, of course, but there's something about this little dude that just open mouth smiles and then goes full on into your nose to give you this kiss. And then he's starting to eat solid foods. And by eat, I mean just shoving them in his mouth and then
Yeah.
spitting them back out.
Yeah.
He tore through some pancakes last night.
That's so cute.
It's just cool. Like, it's just these little tiny moments that you're like, he's looking at me in his rainbow striped pajamas, and he knows that I'm like as cool as I feel, and I love being his mom. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's interesting. You were talking about being kind of the odd one out. When I was younger, I remember from like just a very young age, the thing that I wanted to do was be married and have a family from very young, which I still like other things too, but that's like one of the things that I've looked forward to the absolute most. And my sister, she's 4 years younger than me. She just had her second child. And I was like, been married for 8 years. We were kind of on the 5-year plan or whatever. And some other things happened. So we had to kind of delay it. But yeah, I've just been so pumped because even when she had her first, she called me. She's like, "Hey, do you want to come to the hospital and see him?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I got the phone. I just started bawling, and I was like, "What is going on?" And like, this isn't even my kid yet, so I'm sure it's going to be a full experience.
That's my husband. He's wanted to like be married and have kids forever, and he's been so patient because, like I said, I quit my job when I was 29 to run. So running's kind of been my big priority because I didn't originally think that I could keep going after kids. So that's kind of why I have been like putting it off. And, I think he cries once a day. Loves being a dad.
Yeah, that's so special.
Oh, I'm so happy for you guys. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah, the world needs more good dads. So if there's
Dude,
anything, yeah,
amen to that.
yeah. And there's a serious epidemic and lacking of it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. So back to you. What are the things that you have thought about in terms of like your childhood upbringing and being a mom or having mom, and then now you stepping into that role of being a mom? Are there things that you have really pulled in that you're like, I want to do or I don't want to do in terms of how you raise a child?
Yeah. I think, how old are you?
I am 32.
Oh, okay. So I'm 37. And like I said, I feel like luckily if I had a kid in my 20s, that kid would be a disaster. I was a hot mess in my 20s.
Same.
Which I think I needed to be. I think everybody kind of has their Love Island vibe in their 20s. I think something that I've gained, and like we were talking about earlier, how I was so serious with training, I think throughout the beginning of that to now, I've learned that I don't have to be so stressed about all the things. And I think that's something that I'm starting to notice, especially as others in our lives are having kids, that there's just things that I'm just not as stressed about because I just don't think it matters. And I'm not going to be so stressed about all the little things and trying to get parenting perfect and recognizing that it's just like training and racing. It's not going to be perfect. And I'm going to focus on the things that are really important to me. And I'm going to really try and dial those in and listen to Hugo and listen to what he's letting us know. These kids are brilliant at these tiny ages. That's something I'm shocked by, is that they're little people and they know what they like. Their personalities are there from the beginning. I call him my little monkey because when I was pregnant with him, he was an absolute lunatic in my stomach, and that has not changed. He's nonstop. And I'm like, that's him. That's just who he is. And I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to tone him down.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little boy. He likes to climb already. He's like bananas. So I think that's something that I want to make sure I'm not overly stressed. Justin and I communicate a lot on that. I'm like, this doesn't matter. We're going to figure it out. They all develop differently. The milestones are different. It's really important to us that he's exposed to color and art and music early on. His room is a circus. He's got bananas on his ceiling. Justin made art for his walls. There's color everywhere. It's not a traditional nursery, that's like calming and soothing, because that's just not us. And we want him to know that all the crazy is welcomed and celebrated. So I think, and then again, just like our parents, I think we both had a similar upbringing in the sense of whatever you want to do. Like, we're going to support you as long as it's bringing you joy, it's being kind to others, and, whatever. Like, sure, if you want to be a circus performer and whatever, yep, we're going to figure out how to foster that for you. So I think that's something that those like key things are really important to us. Movement is really important. So Hugo sees us. We'll often put him on the floor in the living room if we're doing like strength training or something like that. He's already been to a couple of my races. We have gone on hikes, we go on walks. Like, we just want to keep that routine of him seeing movement with his parents and knowing that fitness and activity and health is really important. But I mean, other than that, it's just like, go play, like, be you, like,
be a kid.
explore. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's interesting too. Like the past 15 years or so, this, at least from since I've started paying attention, there's a lot of this talk of like, oh, you got to find your passion, do what you love. But without the proper encouragement or just the freedom, I think at a younger age, it's so hard for kids to figure that out, because I feel like coming from a post World War II generation and then, into the Cold War and to the 70s and 80s, like there was less of a focus on do what you want and more on like do what you have to do to survive, which totally makes sense for the era that a lot of these people grew up in. But now, especially with the advent of the internet and just there's so much opportunity, from working from home to figuring out how to make money on your own, which is a huge blessing and a gift. The systems to be able to train or have kids just acquiesce to figure out what they like to do isn't there as much.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as parents, I feel like that's, I don't know yet because I don't have kids, but as I start to raise my own, I think one thing that, I'd love to stick in line with is just encourage them to go try many different things, because I had a similar upbringing and I was never pushed in any one direction. And I think that's really because my parents didn't have any direction growing up. They just kind of figured out as I got older.
Yeah, that's true.
But now moving forward, I've tried so many different things, and I feel like our passions and the energy will flow to those passions like water does to the path of least resistance. Just like put the water on the pan, roll it around, and see which way it flows easiest, and then let a child kind of figure out what they like. And we don't have to all have it figured out by the time we're 17 and be on Forbes 30 under 30 list, because that's where I was for a while. I was like, I have to be successful.
Me too. And especially in the traditional successful, at least financially, that was always like a huge driver for me. I love that water analogy you just said. And when you're in your flow, which I think obviously speaks to absolutely of that, when you're like, it just feels easy. It feels like I'm like just cruising down river.
Yeah.
That's when that's kind of what I've followed, especially over these years, is man, it's not that much work. You can work, but it's not that hard. And that's when I found it's like, that's where the fun is. And that's where like big things happen. And when success comes, that's been my experience.
Yeah, for sure. Lately, I've been trying to figure out like how you would give someone who's a little bit later in life that same opportunity, because like life happens and you have responsibilities, so it can be tougher. Like when a woman becomes a mom or a dad has
Uh-huh.
to provide for children or whatever, like your ability and opportunity definitely changes.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if there's a way to actually do it other than work really hard. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's almost like, again, taking some of the pressure off and just letting yourself fill a little bit of time with something you are passionate about or enjoy, even if you're not going to make money off of it. Like the singing, for example, that may never ever happen, but it sure is bringing me joy right now. And I feel like I'm chipping away at this giant goal that may never actually come to fruition, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Or, and the other thing too is we're seeing so many cool examples in athletics, in acting, in all these different arenas that people are doing things so much later in life. And like there was
Sure.
the woman who won the Academy Award for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And she was like, these are 60s or something.
Hmm.
And she was like, it's never too late. And I loved that because it was like, yeah, we don't have to accomplish our life by 25,
Yeah.
like
Still got 3 lifetimes to live.
big time.
Yeah. So since you have figured out a bit more of, what you want out of life and what it should look like, what does success look like for you just personally, and how has that changed over time? Because I guess you answered part of that question already.
Yeah, I think I grew up we were very, very middle class. I would say lower middle class. Success always equaled financial success. It always was financially motivated, it seems like. And I feel like that's still important to me. I wouldn't say I'm not financially motivated, like earning money and making money and being able to not have to think about super strict budgets is important to me, or that's like a driving factor. But I think it's shifted to more impact. I do think there's this trickle effect of know that, like, I want to walk away being knowing that I have put a rock in the water and it's spreading.
Mm.
I also kind of feel like my life's purpose is to be the person that I grab a handful of glitter and I just blow it. And my job is just to be that one sparkle in like any different area that I touch, and almost like annoyingly you can't get rid of it. And like I'm cool with that because I love glitter. So that's kind of more important to me now than I think like fame has like like admittedly been a thing, but I was like, I want to be famous and I want to have a lot of money and all of these things, and I want to be an Olympian and all of these different pieces. And that's still like, I think a goal, but I think the reasons behind it are different than maybe they might have been 10 years ago.
Yeah, I like how you are unashamed to break the stereotypical mold of what the different phases of life look like, particularly with the North Face pro runner and then the Disney glitter side. Because I
Yeah.
think, especially when sports are younger, it's a certain body type, it's a certain
Hmm.
mindset, it's a certain this, that, and the other. And like, especially in triathlon lately, that's been started to break by some of these people who've become world champions and don't fit those typical molds. I think, yeah, North Face needs to figure out how to do the Disney crossover.
I'm going to quote that and I'm going to keep working on it. That's my dream. It may never happen, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Are you a spiritual person?
I say, like, I always say the universe. Like, I have this kind of overarching piece. So this other tattoo that I have is a rainbow and it has pennies. And so those are what I call pennies from heaven. So I pick up change on all my runs, and those are my signs that I'm on the right path. So I'm a very kind of woo-woo signs universe vibe. That's kind of my driving piece. I do feel like there's something bigger that's happening. I just don't know if I could pinpoint exactly what it is.
Or where does that sense come from? Open that up a little bit more for me if you don't mind.
I think just I reflect a lot. I one of my favorite things in life is hindsight. I love it. I think that it's cool to look back and see like, oh shit, like that teed up that and that and that, and it happened for a reason. And I really believe that. So I think that's a factor. My mom's pretty much that way. My dad's a pretty old school Catholic. I went to a Catholic high school and I moved back out here, and that didn't really resonate very well with me, especially as I got to college and one of my majors was history, and I kind of was like, I'm a little skeptical of this piece. But my mom was always, there's signs that you got to listen for, and there's different pieces in play. And I think I've just kind of learned to trust that for myself. And anytime that I am struggling with something, being impatient with what's happening next in life, or especially when we were trying to get pregnant, it was like, come on, like I just want this, and
Mm.
letting go and surrendering. And then I see a whole bunch of change on the ground. And I'd be like, okay, like that's all I need. That's my affirmation. I know I'm on the right path. I'm going to let it go. And then sure enough, like that's when we got pregnant. So it's all those different pieces. And it's, I think, just come with maturity over the years and just reflection of it all works out. It always does, however it's supposed to. And I do believe that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The those little signs I think really transcend all of the different, from what I've experienced and talked to people, like the different religions. There's always something that is somewhat unexplainable, but it's like a through line in our lives. You know, you're talking about hindsight and looking at the path that you were on and how you can trace back and see and say with confidence, oh, there was a guiding force behind that, which I find is really interesting. So I want to ask you this question. You said the universe, or like this bigger thing, entity, whatever it want to be. If that power force was able to be embodied into a human or some kind of figure that could talk to you, what kind of words would that being say to you, you think?
I'm laughing because I know exactly who it is. It's Abe Lincoln, and he's up in heaven. He's got rad sunnies on. I have a piece of art that I've made from him, and I think I always picture him just up there, just like tossing change down, and just, it's always telling me, just relax. Just relax. And this penny is like your reminder, like be in the moment, trust it, and just relax and enjoy it. I think that this ride goes so quick.
Mm,
It's like, and again, I think it's just like I said with my running career. I want to look back at my life and be like, holy smokes, lived up and I did it. And I I did all the things. That is such a goal. And I feel like weirdly, I also have this weird thing with presidential history. I love presidential history. Abe was a lawyer, he was president, he was all these different things that I loved, that I don't have to be this one thing in my life. I want to just be like, my tombstone is going to be like, she did it all. And like she did it all with color, and we can't, like, there's glitter everywhere, and it makes me smile.
yeah.
I think that that's my goal
You need to
is,
have a glittering tombstone.
could you imagine?
I can
That'd
actually.
be
Like a
okay.
Himalayan pink granite with like sparkles in it. Yeah,
100%.
that's so funny. And I like it that it's Abraham Lincoln too, because he's on the face of the penny, right? Like that's where it
Exactly.
comes from.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
So he's my
interesting.
all-time favorite president, obviously. But he was a wise dude, it seems like. So, and he also stood out. He was like a freak of nature tall, and then he wore a really tall top hat on top of that, you know.
Mm,
So I think it's digging into that piece a little bit. I appreciated that he stood out and he was going against the grain at that time, you know. So I think that that is just a cool, he's just somebody that I've looked up to, even though, like, I imagine him in my own vibe, in my own
hmm.
way of what he probably was actually like.
And we all do that. We all definitely do that. So, in closing, a question wrapped in this, I guess, realization of what you were explaining around the concept of surrender and finding peace. I think for most of us humans, especially those that are a bit more of the type A, wanting to figure out life and do it well, we obsess over control. And
Uh,
I am a Christian, and the concept of surrender is like one of the most freeing things. And just not only surrendering that we have control, but surrendering that sometimes we don't know everything. Like as you said, hindsight is 2020. We can't know the future. We can't know all the variables. It's impossible to know. But having a level of faith to know that everything is going to work out if we, as some people say, put out into the universe, be kind, whatever it is. I think that that's like a very universal thing that centers around love. So for you, if you were to give advice to somebody when they are looking for a way to figure out practically how to relinquish that control and
huh?
to find that peace and surrender, what would you say to them?
Oh, I loved all of that. Like, nailed it. And how cool, whatever you believe, it's the same thing. And I think that has, the surrender piece has been so massive, and it has taken practice. So I think practice practice surrendering and then reflect on proof that it has worked. When you have like look back on your time that you have surrendered and reflect like it's worked. And the other thing is surrendering is where the joy is. So my background in comedy is in improv, and the whole goal is when you get on stage, you have no idea what's about to happen, and that is where the play and the fun comes in, is letting go of the control and just kind of like we're just going to see what happens. I
Off the
also
cuff.
think of off the cuff, and I also think about um there was a run I did like a month ago, and my theme was the 50 states. So I was trying to collect all the 50 states on my runs. So I looked up different trails, and there was this one that I was like, oh, I've never, it was Maryland Mountain, and I didn't even know that was here. And I was like, I run all the same trails a lot of the time. So I went to that, and it was awesome because I didn't know it was coming. And I like came up over this ledge, and then it was just this sprawling, amazing scenery of all of these huge mountains. And I was like, I'm so glad I didn't try to like pre-plan this. I just went out with the intention to run, enjoy it, surrender to the moment, and I got this. And it's just like stuck in my brain.
Mm.
So I think practicing that, and that comes with racing too, is practicing I'm going to be as prepared as I can. And then race day, it's all about surrendering to joy. And whatever is going to come is going to come. I taped my watch when I ran the Olympic trials in 2020. And my mantra on my watch was surrender to joy, because I didn't want to control it. I'm very controlling. Let's be clear. Like I have this hummingbird squirrel side, but I'm also like a very regimented, can be, and I'm an elite athlete, I'm a runner, I definitely have that same control brain. So I think they can work hand in hand. I don't think that that means now you just have chaos in your life and you don't have to worry about anything and you don't have to control things. But I think in the pivotal moments that matter, it's about practicing surrendering, and then what the like anticipating the play, anticipating the funny moments, anticipating what you never would have been able to dream of if you were controlling it the entire way. That was really well said, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, no, it made me think of like military operations. There's a lot of planning and forethought that goes into anything, even if it's, I don't know, corporate America or running or whatever. But, and you make a plan so that you have something to look to. But when the unexpected happens, you don't have the plan to be discouraged. Oh, we're off the plan. It's so you have like a frame of reference of what direction I think that I should go. Because you can control what you can control until you can't control it. So
Exactly.
yeah, you said it really well. Beautiful.
I love that.
Well, Brittany, this has been a very eloquent, deep conversation. I've learned a ton. I didn't get to ask a lot about your comedy, but I'll have to have you on again sometime and we can hear about that a bit. But yeah, thank you so much for diving in and going with the flow and just sharing your life in the way that you have. All the best to you and Hugo, and your husband is Justin, right?
Yeah, I call him the Jusband.
Justin, yes.
Justin, my husband.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciated this a ton. I really, really enjoy the just insightful questions and thought-provoking things, and hopefully it helps people in any way have permission to be who they are and, you know, chase that joy. Now I have one question for you that's been gnawing at me the whole time. What is this accent that I'm hearing?
Do you hear an accent?
100%.
Well, I am from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I grew up in North Carolina.
I knew it. Okay.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I usually people are like, "Oh, you don't have an accent." That's interesting that you heard one. That's
I
very.
lived for an accent. So yeah, it's lovely. It's very subtle, but I was like, I'm guessing I was gonna place Tennessee or that
Yep.
kind of Appalachia-ish.
Yeah.
Chattanooga's one of my favorite places. My husband did the Ironman. Was it the full down? No, he did the 3 down there one year, and it was awesome. We loved it.
Yeah, Chattanooga's great. It really is.
It's great. Did you hear that? It's great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you again so much. I really appreciate it and look forward to hopefully get to meet you in person sometime. If I ever come out to Denver,
yes,
I'll let
please.
you know. Yeah.
Yes, please. Sounds great. Thanks, Seth.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Brittany for coming on the pod and for sharing so freely and vulnerably. Again, I know I say that a lot, but I really mean it when I have these conversations where people do that. It is such an uplifting experience for me, and I really appreciate it. So go make sure to check out Brittany's Substack, her Instagram, all of that stuff. and the things that she has going on. She's also a coach. And if you want to check out any of the stupid question stuff, you can check out the show notes as well at the bottom there. If you made this point in the podcast, though, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you could like, comment, review, send some messages, share that thing, whatever you can do to continue to help push this podcast out there. Really appreciate it. I think that these conversations have the opportunity to impact people in a positive way. So I appreciate you helping me to get that sharing out there. Thank you guys again so much for being here. It really is an honor to spend these many hours with you sharing these stories. All right. Thanks.